Mark Rogers TV with another round of bowl predictions. We expect to heat up now as the big boys hit the field, beginning with Missouri and North Carolina in the Independence Bowl. The Heels at 7-5, a 5.5-point underdog, really not impressive in any of their victories, none against quality opponents, while Mizzou, on the other hand, took Baylor and Oklahoma to the fourth quarter and looked really strong down the stretch in winning 3 consecutive games. James Franklin at quarterback for Missouri, 33 total touchdowns. The Tigers ranked 11th in the nation in total offense and rushing offense. They win the game, take the Heels plus 5.5 points, though. Purdue and Western Michigan in the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl in Detroit. Big Ten opponent against a MAC opponent. You would expect a mismatch there, but Purdue has traditionally struggled against MAC opponents, winning the games but winning very close. They did it in the last time they played a bowl game in 2007 in the same field against a MAC opponent, 51-48. Western Michigan can really throw it. 8th in the nation in pass offense at 320 yards per game. We do like the Boilers to win a close game. Take Purdue and take them to cover 2.5 points. North Carolina State and Louisville in the Belk Bowl, one of the first power matchups of BCS conferences with the ACC and the Big East, and we like the ACC matchup here with the senior quarterback Mike Glennon and 29 touchdown passes. North Carolina State has also notched some impressive wins over North Carolina, Clemson, and Virginia. No big wins on the Cardinals slate, so we like NC State, and the Wolfpack covers 1.5 against the Cardinals. Toledo and Air Force in the Military Bowl. The Rockets, a 3-point favorite, and they've got the dynamic Eric Page at wide receiver, 112 receptions. The Air Force Academy, of course, comes in with a great ground attack, as they always do. 2nd in the nation behind Georgia Tech in rushing at 320 yards. We do like Toledo to get it done in this one and to cover 3 points in a good ball game against the Air Force Academy. The Holiday Bowl, usually a good one. Texas and Cal this year. We flat out like Mac Brown in the postseason and that Texas speed and talent to show up. The problem they had this season was figuring out how to establish a passing game. They've had 5 weeks to work on it. We expect Texas to be a much better football team than they proved this season. Texas beats Cal, and they cover 3 points in San Diego. Florida State and Notre Dame in the Champ Sports Bowl. The Irish had a similar matchup last year in the Sun Bowl and defeated an underachieving Miami team, and undermotivated Miami team 33-17. We expect Florida State to show up and play like they can. They've got the speed advantage, the athleticism. Of course, Notre Dame can throw the ball, and they played well down the stretch the last 10 games. Florida State's got the 4th-ranked defense in the country, points against at 15 per game. So we like them to overwhelm Notre Dame in a good game, but the Noles cover the 3 points in winning over the Irish. Baylor and Washington, this one all about RG3, and he will have a heyday against the Huskies. Expect a high-scoring game. Baylor looked very impressive in defeating Oklahoma and TCU. Their losses were nothing to be ashamed of. Washington, on the other hand, no impressive wins on their slate. They do have Keith Price at quarterback, who had a fine season, but the Huskies are 99th in the country in points per game on defense. That does not bode well against the Baylor Bears attack. So we like a Baylor to win, but 9.5 points with Washington. They pulled a surprise last year against Nebraska. Steve Sarkisian's a good coach. He'll keep it close. Take 9.5 points and Washington. BYU and Tulsa in the Armed Forces Bowl. BYU very hot down the stretch. Winners of 8 of 9. They only lost to TCU, that one loss, by 10 points. That sells me. Take BYU minus 1.5 against Tulsa. Iowa State Rutgers, matchup of the Big 12 and the Big East. Almost enough said right there. Much better opponents on their schedule for Iowa State. Much tougher conference. We like the Cyclones. They played better football down the stretch with a freshman quarterback coming of age. Take Iowa State plus the 1.5 in New York in the Pinstripe Bowl. Mississippi State and Wake, and this is another game I think you really need to look at the conferences. The ACC, a marginal conference. The SEC is the best. And even though Mississippi State went 2-6, run down the opponents, Auburn, LSU, Alabama, Arkansas. The Razorbacks really the only team to manhandle the Bulldogs. They were impressive against those other teams. Took South Carolina to the wire, played Georgia tough, take Mississippi State to win this game and cover the 6.5 points against Wake Forest. And finally, on Friday night, we've got an interesting matchup, I think, with Oklahoma and Iowa. The Sooners, a big 14-point favorite, but they really disappointed. The number one team in the preseason finished at 9-3. They're ranked 19th in the country, and they looked like garbage down the stretch. They've, of course, lost Ryan Broyles, and they lost their top running back as well. Kirk Ferentz always shows up in bowl games. Think about the Iowa talent and where they finish mid-level most of the time in the Big Ten. He has taken like 7-5 and 8-4 teams to postseason play and beaten South Carolina, LSU, Florida, Georgia Tech in the Orange Bowl a couple years ago, and last year beat Missouri 27-24. We like Iowa to keep it close. I would probably pick the upset if Marcus Coker, their top running back, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, was not suspended. He is, though. Oklahoma wins. They hold off Iowa, take the Sooners straight, but the Hawkeye cover the 14 points. We're getting into the thick of the bowl season. It's bowl week here on Mark Rogers TV.